So that's like one, let's take a few, 4 inches, we got it.
All right, go ahead and like get started officially now. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, I don't know how to officially start a speech or a presentation. Like, if I was competing still, I totally could, but now that I'm like way more casual as a coach, I'm like, I get to break all the rules and I don't have to be super polished anymore, I guess. But I can tell you guys how to, right? So this is a very general title. I have to be honest with you guys. I'm gonna throw myself on the sword. I've stared at this and I've changed this title 12 billion times, so if this doesn't feel like it's an accurate title, I apologize. But relatively, we're just gonna go over like 10 different things that I think help with building a strong team, help with your community, especially as a new coach. So a little bit about me, my speech and debate experience. This one has a lifetime resentment against me, just kidding. This is Trevor. We were on our high school speech and debate team together. We both competed at Taylorsville High School, so if you ever see us at tournaments like just bantering or giving each other hell, we've done that for like 10 years now. So with that said, I'm a very easygoing person. I didn't used to always be that way. If anybody is familiar with who Michelle Van Giesen is in our coaching community, she was our high school coach. She retired when we graduated, so that's always meant a lot to me because I know she dedicated literally like half of her life to this. She competed in high school, college, and then coached for like over 20 years, and has coached other coaches in the community that have now since come and passed. And so I really took how she coached and how she led her team to heart. So with that, afterwards, I judged speech and debate for various schools for a couple of years, and then I was invited to start coaching at Bingham with Nicholas Lassen 2 years ago, right when COVID happened and all of that. So that was very interesting because I'd never coached before. I was just coming straight out of judging, being like, I think I have relevant experience and things I can share. I build a business and a brand on social media. I like to stream on Twitch. I do a lot of things that require public speaking, being in front of people, talking to people. I like entertaining a bit, so all of my life experience, it was like, that's what I've got. I do not have college degree, college background, any of that thing. That was not my personal journey that I chose to take after high school. So coaching achievements, though, once we got in, it was crazy. Things just kind of started happening. So we had a very productive year, that year of 2020 to 2021. One of our sophomores who was in novice took first in oratory at state, which was insane because I literally told her 2 weeks before region, your speech isn't memorized, and quite frankly, I don't think we should put you in region. And if it's my choice, you're not going. And I thought I was really mean for that. That was one of my first pieces of direct coaching feedback that I was like, I'm gonna get fired for that. That was really mean. I said that to a 15-year-old. Her speech is about going to rehab and like overcoming a lot of stuff, and that was probably way too harsh for me to say, but it's how I felt. She didn't have it memorized, and I didn't think she'd earned the spot. So I was very torn, but I was still very much learning how to communicate in a way that was effective as a coach, but also got my point across. I really struggled that year as an assistant coach, I have to be honest, because I totally blamed the fact that I didn't have a college degree, I didn't know how to manage classrooms or work with teenagers, I was just winging it. And I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I felt a lot of imposter syndrome. Are any of you guys new coaches, like brand new? Okay. Do you feel imposter syndrome? You're like, they expect me to know what I'm doing. I don't know the first thing that I'm doing. I still do too. Okay, first thing, own it. Tell your kids. I told them very first day when I was head coach. So after that, my head coach, Nicholas Lassen, he had a personal business venture take off. And so instead of full-time teaching, he went into doing that, which I love him for that. He's doing very well. I still see him and talk to him like every day. He's like a personal mentor to me now. And that's awesome for him. But he was like, hey, they need a head coach. And I was like, hey bro, I don't have a degree, I don't teach, that's not a thing. And he's like, but they still need one. So I currently head coach, I am not the formal teacher, there is a formal full-time teacher over the class. She was my assistant coach last year. She has a 2.5-year-old and her husband's in med school, so she's not assistant coaching necessarily with me this year, but she is still teaching the class. We're calling her the fairy godmother because she's gonna help me with paperwork and bus requests and all the internal stuff that I don't have time to come in and do, but she's still there to help me run things and all that. So last year with her, we were named new coach of the year. I know people name me and they talk about me and they don't know Mariah as well, but I would not have survived if it were not her, if she did not exist. We took our speech and debate championship in region. I don't necessarily count that as a win, if I'm being completely honest with you. Our region was us, Copper Hills, and West Jordan. And there was only 3 kids from West Jordan, so really it was us and Copper Hills just duking it out for first and second. The one accomplishment I do take from that though is that I was in charge because of Nicholas Lassen, and also the former Copper Hills coach, because last year they also had a new coach. Those two, Nicholas and Mac, they decided to host region, and then they both quit being coaches. So I was looped into having to host, and the other Copper Hills coach was not wanting to, which was fine. So my achievement from that is that we ran the region tournament, nobody died, there was no cheating, there was no big allegations, we were on time, we had enough judges. That's my one achievement from that. That's really what I take.
Achievement in and of itself.
Just that, you know what I mean? And then also we did a fundraiser last year. We raised over $5,000, that's something we'll talk about. So it's one of those things, I don't say that to brag, I just say that in the sense of like, it was amazing to get the kids motivated to do that. I know a lot of people get really doubtful of like, oh, if we try to fundraise, the kids aren't gonna be into it, or they're from a lower income background, or we make all these excuses for them, and I only say that to say like, do not make excuses for them. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit later. And then we've had a 13% or 13-person increase in our team, so 24 total. So we've replaced our 9 graduated seniors, and then we've grown by 13 more people. My Debate 1 class right now has 36 kids in it, and another one that's trying to come in from an online high school. I'm trying to kick my varsity out so I physically have seats for the kids, which is really good. I'm in a position now where we might have to figure out who can go to region, who can go to state if we qualify full slate, and I want to see more teams be like that. And that's why I asked to do this training. I don't think that I'm more qualified than anyone. I don't think I know more than anyone. I don't think I'm better than anyone. None of that. But something I'm doing is working. And so I want to try to translate that over to you guys to help give you some confidence, help you have more faith and belief in yourself as coaches, and also feel like it's gonna be okay. Because I promise you, it's gonna be okay. Other like random things about me, again, I'm a 26-year-old entrepreneur, content creator. I'm a substitute teacher now also for Jordan School District. Last year I tried to wing it with my business and serving and bartending and also coaching, and it's very exhausting to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be on a bus and then be at a tournament all day. Trying not to want to strangle kids. I know that probably sounds very aggressive, but like they're constantly on you, like my room's locked, where's my judge? Why did I lose? You're just like, just get through the tournament, friend. It'll be fine. I promise you it'll be fine. And then you're like waiting on adults all night long until midnight. Like it's very exhausting. So I'm hoping this year will be a bit different with substitute teaching and be a bit more consistent, but we'll see. So like I said, also with here, I have a passion for coaching and mentoring. That's really what I'm in this for. Like I said, I don't get paid a little full-time income or whatever to do this. I do this simply because like I had a kid at our banquet this last year who said, again, it's one of those pieces of feedback. I wasn't sure if I went over the line too much, but he came to me with a speech basically saying that comedy is a good thing. We should make light of positive or bad situations, and we should be positive, and it's okay to like make jokes of stuff. And I was like, that's a good point, friend. What else? I was just like, what else? And he's like, what do you mean, what else? And I was like, what's the rest of the point? Like, what's the rest of the speech? Like, and he's like, no, we should just make light of dark situations with humor. And I'm like, okay, that kind of sucks and I'm bored. Sorry, I love you, that kind of sucks and I'm bored. Like, that's just how I talk. I just very much was like, I'm not interested in that. And it ended up becoming a speech where we talked about the value of dark humor and how sometimes making light of dark situations can be a coping mechanism. And we talked about South Park and the value that South Park has on the world, and a lot of people try to tell us like South Park has no value. But it also, we talked about how it opens up the door to darker conversations, heavier conversations, talking about trauma, different things that are going on in the world. And sometimes making fun of stuff is also a way of just coping with it and just dealing with like how ridiculous it is or how dramatic it is. He ended up placing 4th at state in oratory last year, and then graduated, and he almost qualified for academic All-American. He was upset because he was like 27 points shy on NSDA for us to apply for him. So it was one of those things where he also grew, and when he told me, he was like, you being honest with me, it was one of the first times I felt like somebody was really honest with me and told me that I needed to do better. They weren't just saying I did good just to like make me feel good kind of a thing. So I really like being able to kind of give that harsh feedback, but out of love. I don't like making people feel bad. So going into my first thing, quote number 1, decide to be a team. Just to like put it in perspective, this is our banquet photo. We did a little luncheon when I was assistant coaching, this top one, that's how big our team was. Most of those people are seniors, so most of them left. So like I said, when we replaced our 9 seniors from last year, that's all I had coming in last year as head coach. I had 9 returning seniors and about 15 to 20-ish brand new novice people. I lost about 6 or 7 of those throughout the year. So the first thing I'm gonna tell you is like, you're going to have people drop, whether it's in the first quarter, whether it's at the semester mark, you're going to have people drop, and it's not about you. What's something about the activity, the community, the friends, the energy, the whatever, it's not about you, okay? And if it is about you, they're teenagers, don't let it get to you. Like, they're gonna make their own reasons. The other thing that I say with this as well is like, still create the culture within your team that people wanna be a part of. So I wanna read this quote, obviously you can read it, it's long, but I feel like it encapsulates speech and debate really well. I'm not gonna lie, I stole this from an anime that I watched because I was watching it and I was listening to it while I was working on stuff for school 2 weeks ago, and this quote happened and I just was listening to it, I was like, did I just hear that in a cartoon? Like, there's no way that I got this from that, but I think it really just encapsulates speech and debate. So everyone comes here for different reasons. So it starts off by saying, essentially the person who's saying this, he's a part of a pirate crew. and the pirate crew is just, there's always shenanigans happening, everyone's always doing different things, going in different directions, and this one person who just joined the crew is just like, how do you stay here? Why are you here? Why do you put up with this? Like, what do you, like, this is ridiculous, and I think I joined the wrong crew. And the guy goes, I have my own reasons for being here and joining the crew in the first place. It's like that for the others too. None of us have the same goals in mind as Luffy does. And Luffy's the leader of the crew. Everyone on your team is gonna have different goals, okay? But you still have to decide to be a team. It's not a club, it's not an after-school program. I mean, if it is, that's fine, that's great. But if you really want them to see each other as a team and act as a team and have that constant awareness and just in how they behave and how they look at themselves as being a part of something bigger, everyone has different goals. And that's good, that's fine, that's great. We all basically do our own thing for our own reasons, and it may seem a little bit weird at times, but it works for us. It can look crazy, like we have no idea what teamwork is, especially when you look at our captain, he's a real handful. Own the fact if you're a hot mess express. Like, that's one thing I do. I just own the fact that I'm like, look, I've got ADD, I'm gonna forget. I also have an outside life. I also work a full-time job. Like, I am totally gonna own the fact stuff might slip through the cracks. And I tell my kids, call me on it. I'm a handful. I'm a whole mood sometimes. Sometimes I ramble and I just want to talk about fun stuff all day, and they're over here like, coach, I want to talk about my case. I want to talk about this, because I'm a human too, right? So I think just acknowledging that like you're a handful as well, like they respect that. And also that's kind of what works as far as like cohesiveness is. But still, what is a teamwork right when you get down to it? Is it just about protecting each other and helping each other out? I guess most people would say so, but they're just fooling themselves. I think real teamwork is about more than that in the end. It's about individuals taking individual risks, if you ask me. You work together by working separately. You stand up and you risk your own life. You do what you can, you do what you can, the best that you can, and then you turn to others and expect the same from them. That to me is like, boom, right there, that's speech and debate. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you do interns, informative debate, your whatever leadership it is, I don't care what you do. Just do what you can, the best that you can. That's all I expect from you. And I expect you to expect me to do my best that I can. At the same time, that comes with giving each other grace. I understand I'm gonna be better at things than you, you're gonna be better at some things than me. There's also gonna be some things that, like on the flip side of that, like I am better at this than you, so you need to let me handle this, or vice versa, you know. And then the ending of it, when you think about it that way, what's so wrong with everyone on the crew having their own agenda? But that's my opinion. And that's kind of how I feel about it with debate. You can still be a team, and even if you have the speech side and the debate side, like really passionate policy kids, and really just some people that are here for fun, and they just want to get the credit. Like that's okay too. Everyone can be here for different reasons. This one, you can kind of read over, I won't go over everything too much, but second thing, get to know that team with surveys. Once you decide that you're a team, you gotta get to know your team. If you don't know your team, you can't lead them. You cannot figure out how well someone swims if you don't put them in a pool with floaties or not. I think about it with Navy SEALs. That's the whole reason. They know they can swim, but they still sit there out in the middle of the cold ocean to see who can last the longest, to see who can breathe, who can swim, and that's also to figure out in what jobs within the SEAL teams, who's supposed to do what. You know, who can you count on in certain situations? So you need to get to know your teams. I had my team do this Myers-Briggs. All of them geeked out about it yesterday. They're like, what? We have to do this 16-person, I don't know, I'm an ENTFJ, whatever. I'm like, I don't care, do it again. You might be a different one today. I don't care, do it again. Do it right now. I want you to think about all these questions in the realm of speech and debate. Or you can do it in the realm of just yourself, being authentic, whatever, right? But I want to know, also for my novices, if they come to me and they're like, I want to do policy, and their personality type is like a super fun, not really focused, doesn't like deadlines, likes to go with the flow type of personality, I'm gonna look at them and say, hey friend, I love you. It's not for you. Like, I don't mean that to be rude, I could be wrong. You are more than welcome to prove me wrong if you're really that dedicated to it, but if I want to tell you something that's gonna play to your strengths or not, that's not it. That's like telling somebody if we're running a basketball team or a football team, and they come in and they're like, I'm gonna be the quarterback. And I'm like, you can't run more than 30 seconds or 10 feet in 30 seconds. You're really slow. I love you. That's fine. You can kick the ball though. You can be the punter, right? Everyone's got different positions to play in, and this is how you're gonna figure that out. This one, my kid thought I was weird because I asked him about it, and I was like, hey, so you might be like, that's what? There's an option that says they're a teenager. So they can take the quiz, and it formulates all of the questions to being 13 to 17. It doesn't ask anything inappropriate. I went through all of it, took the test myself. So you can select an option that is the teenager, and it's like, you can worry that it's gonna be good. Again, explain your team the preference, or like the purpose behind that. I should have told my team, I'm like, I'd rather know who needs the words from me, who needs a fist bump, and who needs me to give them a $5 gift card to Jamba Juice. You know, I'd just rather know. You know, bonus tip, this is something also that I did. I can send you my Google form if you literally want to just direct copy it, add questions if you want. I asked them about allergies, birthdays, preferred pronouns, preferred nicknames. Like, I've got 17 Emilys, okay, not really, I have like 4 Emilys, but I really am like, okay, and not only that, but 2 out of the 4 both have the same Emily J. So like if I say Jones or Johnson, I'm just like, I'm gonna mix you up, just can we figure out something else? And one of them is very much like, I like M. That's what Mariah calls me, will you call me that? I'm like, yeah, I'll call you M, cool, sweet, got it. You know, but just little things like that. I do have one person on the pronouns question, I have a box that says I use different pronouns at home or at school than I use, whatever. And I literally told my kids in class, I said, I don't want to embarrass you, just tell me, okay? I don't care, I'm not gonna judge you. It's not about whether I agree with it, whatever, you know what I mean? It's about your personal safety and you feeling safe, right? I want to make you feel welcome and part of the team. That's up to you, obviously. If you don't care for that, you don't have to do that. I got that from Sydney at Alta because she asks her kids that. Yeah.
You know, I always use the pronouns my kids want.
Yeah.
But legally we can't ask them on paper or a Google form or we'll get fired.
Oh, no.
In our district, I don't know, I think it's the whole state. It's a state
No,
thing,
that's good to know. I have to
So
be
you
honest, I
might wanna
literally
take
just
it
read
off.
it.
Because
No,
I did it last year and
Good point.
found out I couldn't after, and so you might want to take it off.
no, thank you for that because yeah, I just heard that another coach had asked and I was like, that's a valuable question. Like, and I feel like, yeah, so I appreciate that. But that's, okay, that right there though, that's how we learn. Like there's so many things. Like when I was running my tournament, like, okay, so I ran my own tournament, ran region and then helped host with state, like everything that, like when it came to like, this isn't working or this is broken or like a judge was like, why does this look a certain way? Like just ask. There are a lot of times, and not only that, though, the people respect, I don't know, especially in this community. Like I really do, like if you know, obviously, and we know that you know, when you lie and say I don't know, then obviously we don't respect that. But like, if you genuinely don't know, like how are you supposed to learn? Okay, most of the time we learn by messing up, right? That's how we learn to walk, is by falling on our face 17 times and getting back up. Sometimes that kind of looks like that, so thank you for that. But yeah, I ask other stuff too, like I asked them to goal set. So for instance, I was like, what are 1 to 3 things that you think already make you good at speech and debate? Or you're already good at this year? You know what I mean? Even for my varsity, I worked on my confidence. I'm more excited, I'm better, I wanna work hard this year. I actually know what I wanna do, I don't wanna waste time, whatever that is. And also, what are 1 to 3 opportunities? Tell me off the bat. I wanna tell you what I think you need to be coached on. I mean, I sure could. I might have the credibility and I can say all day, well, because I'm the debate coach and I think that you need to work on your confidence. Sure, I could say that, but if I come at them like that, they don't respect that. Especially teenagers nowadays, they want to be your friend. And we may not want to, and we want to keep that boundary, of course, between coach and friend, but at the same time, coming at it from a more friendly approach of like, you tell me what you think you need to be coached on. They're way more likely to be coachable and open-minded to it, because they're already acknowledging that it's a strength that needs to be developed. That's also something I talk about with my team. We don't call it weaknesses, and we don't call it things that we're bad at. They're strengths that are not yet developed. And then we have strengths and strengths not yet developed. So that's that one. Number 3, this one makes us weird. Our kids used to freak out about this. So create a motto/chant. I call it a chant because that's what I'm making it, because I'm a girl and I'm corny and cheesy and I like to do that. And my kids were like, were you not a cheerleader in high school? And I said, no, specifically I wasn't. I was a dancer, but I wasn't a cheerleader. But this is our motto: think like a champion, work like an underdog, behave like a friend. If you want to use this as a framework to like get your kids started with an idea of like, hey, this is the example, let's make our own kind of thing, please, by all means, go ahead. But ultimately what this is when you're creating a model, you want to consider your team culture. Like, what does the team value? We value our mindset, huge. Like, mindset is out the gate, is a big deal. So we really, like, it really matters to us that we're always thinking of ourselves as champions. We're not newbies, we don't suck, we don't lose, we don't do that, we're champions. And even if we don't win all the time, even champions lose sometimes, you know? And so that's a big thing. And then also, I think following that up with the behavior as well is always good, something that you can have action on. The way that we think like a champion is by working like an underdog. These things go hand in hand. Champions do not just happen overnight, and most of the time champions are former underdogs. And so we really talk about how like you can think like whatever you want, but it is not just what you think in your head, it's also what you do. So that's a big thing for us in the behave like a friend. And that also like kind of breaks down how to create this is we consider like our team image and our team goals, right? So we want people to see us as friends. We want the speech and debate team to be a safe community, a friendly community, something that anybody can join, anybody can come to practice. We've had a few people join our team that were boyfriends or girlfriends, and they were coming around after school to practice, and I'm like, look, if you're gonna be here all the time, please stop being a distraction and just like pick an event or like do something. One of our girls that did that was a girlfriend of someone on the team. Her younger brother joined the team this year because of that. So you never know how it could translate into somebody else coming into the team in the future. And then also like again, like the image of the team, like how do you want your peers to see you, you know? You should have, like they should want to be seen with a little bit of swag, a little bit of a little bit of, like you are something to be known, you know what I mean? With us, I don't like doing this because sometimes I think our kids get a little bit of an ego about it. Our program's been in like active action for over 100 years. It's one of the longest programs in the state. They've won over 10 state titles. They've gone to nationals. We're a nationally ranked team. This, that, and the other. They have tons of things where I could say, like, as an organization, like, you should be able to walk with a little bit of pride, you know? But at the same time, you want to build that for them in, like, this generation, too. So having them get connected to that in some way. We say our motto at the beginning of every class, if not the beginning, at the end. We also say it on the bus, or usually when we get into tournaments. We got a lot of looks last year when we got to Westlake at the first tournament. We walked in right into the commons. I made everyone get in a circle, and I said 1, 2, 3. And we said chant, and it was funny because like our varsity was like really into it. Our novices were like, think like a champion, work like an underdog. But it was funny because the whole common stopped talking, and they looked at us because obviously everybody's like, why are they yelling? You know, and we got everyone's attention. And then we just went back to what we were doing. So then everything kind of goes back to normal. But everyone knew where bingham was. Everyone knew who we were. And it's not a matter of that we're better than anyone or making a statement or anything like that, but all those kids, and they weren't worried about the first round or the first tournament. They were like, oh, we're a team. We're here together. I'm not alone. No one's staring at me, they're staring at us. And it's that interconnectedness that I think builds that community to where like when they're going to tournaments and they're seeing varsity for the first time, they're like, oh, there's 12 new humans here I've never seen. Now I'm even a smaller fish in a bigger pond. You know, it kind of brings everybody together a little bit. And then also like who would win. So like we have our kids do it. So usually I'll have like our debate president do it, or we'll call out somebody like if we're on the bus or something, if somebody's not paying attention and I've just done a roll, I'll be like, hey you, on your phone, you do the motto. Like, you know, get everybody to be involved with it. And again, be well thought out, funny, all that. I believe Carol Shackelford is the one that originally came up with this, and then after she quit coaching, in the lieu of coaches and transitions and stuff, this died out, and then Coach Lassen is the one that brought it back. And at first the kids, they would groan at the beginning of every class and like, I don't want to do this, and this is corny, and it's weird, because it does feel weird, because literally like you come in, you sit down, you take a roll, and then literally would be the first thing that we do. So you still have kids walking through the hall, getting to classes, the doors open, whatever, and then all of a sudden you just hear this like, think like a champion, work like like everyone knows like when debate's in session. So it's kind of cool. It sets the energy for the tone, or for the team as well. I think it also could be good for like getting everyone's attention. Just be like, hey, do the motto, like when everyone's talking, it might get everyone to like settle down real fast and get into that mindset of like, it's time to work now. But I think that also is what's something that sets us apart. Makes us corny, makes us different, but it's cool. This is a bit more of a bigger breakdown. Okay, establish your team's lab. This is what I call my leadership advisory board. I'm gonna be honest, I stole this from my business mentor. She is a 8-figure network marketer. She owns several traditional businesses. She's an investor. And this is what she calls her personal employees. She's like, I call them my leadership advisory board, because that's exactly what they are. They are leaders, and they advise me on things to do with the team. So I'm like, cool, I can steal that. I think that title as well, by all means, please steal it. I think it gives a little bit of that oomph to your team. You could say your team leadership, right? You could say your core leadership, whatever you want to call it on your team. I kind of like this, because you could say, I'm meeting with the lab today, or like, hey, we're gonna have a lab meeting, and then those 5 people, they know you're talking to them, the team knows what you're talking about, what's going on, the lab's gonna decide what the next social is, the lab's gonna decide if we're going to this tournament or that tournament, whatever it is, however you decide you wanna do it. I think it just sounds a little cool, you know, makes them feel good about themselves. So I'm gonna kind of break down, these are our roles that we're rolling with this year. I obviously do not have event captains up here. My team is not big enough for that yet. I did say that my team is growing, but we're still building out like those event groups, and every year those event groups will change. So like you might have an oratory captain this year, but next year you might only have 3 kids. So what's the point of having an oratory captain, in my opinion? Like, what's the point? Speech and debate captain makes more sense to me, personally, so I'm gonna break down each of these as roughly as I can. Your team president should be a varsity member, absolutely. If you obviously are like, again, just building, and your varsity is, you know, sophomores and juniors or whatever, then that's fine. I say preferably a senior, because they usually have the schedule availability to be in both classes, if you have a debate 1 and a debate 2, and if you want them in there, if they wanna be there. When I say top of the COC, I mean chain of command. So kind of like if there's any, because there's 5 people here, so between these 4, there's 6 people here. Between these 5, if there's like an uneven, like we don't really know what to do, we need a tiebreaker, or like a decision on a vote or something like that, that's probably who I'm gonna go to. Their job duties are pretty open-ended. They're pretty much anything that you need. You need something done and it can be delegated to a student, which I learned, I don't know how this works at your guys' schools, but they can fill out PO forms. Like student government at Bingham, I found out, they fill out their own forms and they submit them, and obviously the advisor looks over, makes sure it's all filled out correctly or whatever, and they initial it so that the finance secretary knows the advisor has seen it, you know what I mean, but this has been approved to submit and we can get it going. And then it's not all on the SBO advisor to get all of these different things that like all the SBOs want to do out. So I'm gonna start doing that. Like, I got my NSDA things I gotta redo, I got my champion briefs POs, like real basic POs that I've gotta get redone for the year. Hey, Andrew, can you go do that for me, please? Can you run that down to the office so I don't have to? I don't wanna like have to get cardio. I go to the gym already. I don't need to go up and down the stairs 72 times a day. Make him do that, you know. Tournaments, whenever I'm hosting tournaments, he's probably the guy that I'm gonna give the keys to. Go unlock that room, whatever, because he's the one I can trust. He's my team president. They also assist the below captains, of course. They act as a spokesperson if you're not there. So like if I'm in tab and if I'm helping with running state or whatever, but like I get the text that like our food just got dropped off, or like I had a mom last year who would, hey, I'm sending Jimmy John's to Viewmont High School, and I'm like, what? Okay. And they'll just be like, hey, I'm here for Bingham, and I don't know, like I'll just have moms that help, and that's great. I can send a text to Andrew and be like, go tell the team the food's here. You know, he has the ability to post like in our announcements channel and Slack, that kind of thing. Your debate captain, obviously overall your debate events, keeps tagging all your debate events and case management within those. Sydney's job on my team is literally, we're gonna set up deadlines. So obviously for tournaments, we have the drop deadline with drop fees and things like that. My recommendation is to make sure you set a deadline a couple days in advance of that. I would say at least 72 hours, and say you need to see cases and or speeches by then. If they're almost done, if you need one more contention, fine, we'll let it fly. If you have half your case not done, I am not putting you in the tournament, I am not risking a drop fee, and I'm not harassing or worrying about having to find a judge if you're not even gonna be ready. No thanks, I got other things to worry about. So having that though, I have her to be like, hey, today's the deadline, will you go around and take a tab and see who has their app case and who has their neg case? And literally her job is to have a Google Doc where it just says, LD, Axel, Mackay, Emily, Novice 1, Novice 2, AF and neg, check, check, AF and neg, whatever. And then if she comes back to me, she's like, okay, well, Axel has an AF, Emily has her AF and neg, Mackay has only a neg though. I'm gonna go to Axel and Mackay and be like, great, you have an AF, you have a neg, help each other. Because he needs one and he needs the other one and he needs the other one. Does that make sense? Okay, and make them coordinate. She's not doing that though. Like she's not the one making them do that or anything. She's literally just checking and say, hey, do you have an AF, do you have a neg? You don't, can I help you? If they say no, her job is to walk away. Last year I had an issue with my speech captain liking to go in and just tell people what to do. She would come into class and tell me, I lesson planned and this is what we're working on today. And I said, you know you're a student, right? So don't give them too much freedom to where they think they have to lesson plan. Don't let them stress themselves out. Sydney likes to stress herself out and say, like, oh, I need to work on this. I need to go over their feedback with them. I'm like, no, you do not. It's not your responsibility. If they ask you to go over their feedback with them, that's one thing, right? But make sure, this is like the biggest coaching with these two guys or girls or whoever, right? You are not personally responsible for any of these people's results, their cases, their grade, nothing. You're literally just helping me keep tabs on it so I don't go crazy. And I said to my team, I'm like, I got ADHD, I've got 12 different tabs open, I will probably forget to check in on that one over there, right? And that's essentially what this is. Speech captain, same thing as debate captain, but ultimately, again, it'd be cool if these guys are seniors, so they can be debate 1 and debate 2, so they can be checking in with novices. It also gives them more time to work on their stuff, so they don't feel like there's one class period for them to work on their cases and their speech, and check in with the novices, and be of use, and do leadership stuff, like, all over the place. It gives them more ability to, like, diversify and time management. And also, for leadership skills, figuring out what's the priority, right? What needs to get taken care of today, as well. So it's cool if these guys can work together as well. They get along well. So for instance, the people that I have in this role, they are a PF team. And so if one of them's not gonna be at school, we're not gonna do something, I told them, I was like, it's up to you if you wanna have the other one check in on stuff. I'm not gonna delegate debate stuff to my speech person and vice versa, but if amongst yourselves you wanna ask for help, that's on you, I don't care. Collaborate to your heart's desire. Vice president on this side, oh, also, Andrew, with my team president, is kind of in charge of checking in with them if they need anything. So on the offhand as well, if they want something to roll up a responsibility to anybody, they can go to Andrew and be like, hey, do you have time to go do this? Because I'm not gonna be in class on Thursday. I won't be here, I'm not going to be at that tournament, can you go do the thing? Same thing over here on this side, so I have my vice president, preferably a junior, because ideally you're gonna have this person taking over the team president the next year. Team president can be a lot of stuff, a lot of responsibility. Again, it's time management, it's the leadership stuff, it's being on hand, you know, your right-hand man or lady for something. So them knowing how tab room works, having a general idea how tournaments go, being able to field all the general little questions that like you don't have to answer. So for instance, when kids are like, our tournament's Friday or Saturday, or like, when are we gonna be leaving? Is the bus almost here? Or like, are rounds still happening? Like, people that are just familiar with that kind of information and they can relatively, you know, field those questions for you. Your varsity member that, again, hopefully, again, because it all comes down to just having experience. If you have a novice person in this role, they're not gonna really know what's going on. So like, it's hard for them to lead and be seen as a person of like, not necessarily authority, but like trusted credibility within your team, because they're also learning it and figuring out as everybody else on the team is learning and figuring it out. So it'd be cool if you can tag team stuff between them. And then we have our celebration captain and our social captain. So celebration, again, preferably a varsity because of the trust. It's really good if your lab is all varsity members, just because, again, it just kind of shows that leadership a bit. It's something to work to, something to strive to. I think it also sets a standard as well of, like, we don't do handouts necessarily. Like, just because you show up doesn't mean you get to have a title or be really cool and get all this, like, notoriety. I think some people, that really feeds the ego. And then when they go to tournaments and then they start winning because they've got all this confidence, it gets really hard to coach them because I know what I'm doing and I'm winning. I don't need your feedback. I don't need your help. And so I think this also keeps it open of, like, everything has to be earned. Like, you must kind of demonstrate that you can lead, you can perform, and there's a reason I should trust you to talk to other people. I also, for this one, my celebration captain, personally speaking, we asked the person to do this one because she's kind of an aggressive speaker. And so some people are like, I don't know if she's being friendly or if she's mad at me. I don't know if she, and so we're like, I literally told her, I was like, this is to make you softer. This is to make it so people like you. You're a likable person, but I want people to know that they like you and you like them. You know what I mean? So this is also to help her develop different leadership skills. So talking to the school newspapers, school announcements, getting stuff put out about the team, club rush, they're in charge of that. Organizing who's gonna do it, who wants to do it, do we wanna do it? Like, up to them, okay? Social captain, this one is probably the best spot for a novice person because it's really, if you have somebody who's like really gung-ho, you're like, no, I could probably trust them. Like, yeah, they're novice, but like they'd be good to have in the group, or they're really smart, or they're really, what's the word I'm trying to think of? They do stuff on the spot on their own, like they're like a self-starter. This could be a really good spot for them because really it's event planning. Go do fun stuff. Should we go to an escape room? Where? When? How much does it cost? That's literally what I'm delegating to them. Tell me what to write the check for. And then most likely what's probably gonna happen is Christian, the friend that I have here on my team, he's gonna come to me and say, hey, we should all go to an escape room. It's gonna cost $12 a person. I need 60 something tickets or whatever. I'm gonna be like, great, go to Andrew, fill out the PO, get it approved. I'm gonna take all of that work off of me. And then when it comes to announcing it to the class, hey, can you two stand up in front of the class and promote your event? So this is also too, you wanna have somebody that's fun, good at creating excitement, they're creative, they're follow through. And again, tell them their budget. You have $100, you got $200. Can we buy pizza? Can we watch a movie? Do you want me to Netflix something? Like, we have this idea for doing a team paint night. So like, we might go to Michael's or whatever and get a bunch of Halloween things, like little witches and a moon and which is really corny, really cheap stuff. And very cheap, simple paints. And we're gonna sit in the classroom after school, we're gonna watch Hocus Pocus, and we're gonna paint some stuff. Just for the simple act of sitting there, talking and watching a movie and hanging out, because it might be a fun social idea. But it's easy, we can do it after school, and it cost me like $50 to get enough stuff for the whole team. You know what I mean? It's real simple. But that's up to him if he wants to do that for October, right? So kind of help with generating ideas, but at the same time, if you've got somebody that's like I have one of the kid that's doing this, he has a Nintendo Switch, and he goes, can we have a Smash Brothers tournament? And I was like, I've got 2 extra Joy-Cons at home. I don't know how much that will help with 40-something kids to run an entire video game tournament, but we can try. So, but he brought his Switch to Region, and the whole time while we were tabulating all the results for Region, that's all my debate room was up on the TV, people just watching Super Smash Brothers and going crazy. So you never know what will motivate your team. Don't overstress it, don't overthink it. By all means, let them come up with it. I think they also respect when their peers are coming up with the idea, because then it fits in versus you're like, hey kids, this'll be fun. You know, they kind of get into it themselves. So number 4, this one's way more general. This is one of those slides, I have to be honest, I did kind of just throw together. I was like, none of these things really feel like they pertain to one particular thing, but things they should know. They are young adults, they can handle this information. So if you have an assistant coach, they may not be your full-time coach, but they're still your equal. One of the things that we ran into when I was assistant coach, and then even last year where I was coming in, but then having to still work and everything, Mariah was our assistant coach and she was the teacher. I'm the head coach, and I'm taking them to tournaments, and there was definitely a good cop, bad cop situation that we would find ourselves in a lot. All right, so in order to avoid that, I would just make sure that they know amongst all of your coaching staff, regardless of how much or how little someone shows up, they're still your equal, they deserve their time, their respect, all of those things. I don't think it's above telling them, hey, they're not paid to be here. You should care. They're literally here so that you can facilitate this activity, or so that you can have a good time, or it's not just thrown together and all that. Like, I have told my kids that from the beginning, and even though people have been like, do you not think that's a little bit direct? If anything, it's actually been nice, because when I do show up a lot, they go, hey, are you okay being here all the time? Why do you need to leave? Is it okay that I ask for your time? Like, it makes them very respectful of my time, and I think that's good, because it makes it to where, like, when they show up to practice, they know that I'm not there to mess around. I literally am leaving at 4 o'clock, and if you came in here and wasted your time, then you're not getting credit on your grade for practice. And I have no problem telling Mariah, you came in and we talked about your boyfriend and the dance and whatever for 27 minutes. Like, no problem doing that, you know, and just being very open with them about that. They also know I have other interests and responsibilities. If I only have 3 people saying they want to go to a tournament, I'm wiping it off my calendar. I do not care. I will not worry about it. So this year I actually have a standard of we are taking at least 4 people or no more than 7, because I can fit in a Suburban. And that saves me on bus costs, bus driver, gas, all that. It's cheaper for me. So I'm either taking 4 to 7 or I'm taking 10 plus, because then that's a bus. I can't, if I have 8 or 9, then that's 2 Suburbans. That's unnecessary because I got 5 in this one and 2 in that one. Gotta have my assistant coach coming out. It's just extra, unnecessary. No thanks. More paperwork. I'm taking up both Suburbans for bingo. That's rude. And my kids are like, what, really? You think that's rude? I'm like, yeah, because we could just get 2 more people. We'll just take a bus. I'm not gonna take up both Suburbans when there's 27 other programs happening, right? It's also being aware of, like, there's other stuff and other people in the world than us, you know? And that kind of lesson of things. So I kind of set that boundary, and most of them, honestly, seem to be on board with that. We don't have tournaments yet, so I'll let you know if things change. But most of them seem to be pretty understanding of the fact that I'm like, I have other things I'd like to be doing than having to go to a tournament every single weekend, because these 4 want to go this weekend, and these 5 want to go this weekend, and this 6 want to go this weekend, and everyone needs their tournament credited. You know, so I don't want to get stuck. Big thing, we put this in our disclosure too, a personal emergency on their part does not constitute an emergency on your part. I know you guys have heard this before, you probably said this to people about late work and assignments and all that. Real big deal, I don't care. If you have to drop or whatever, like, because you didn't plan ahead, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna waste time feeling bad about it, I'm not gonna cry about it, and I don't care for the crocodile tears. It's not that I'm heartless and I don't care, it's that it does nothing. It wastes time, it gets us nowhere, it changes nothing about the situation, right? So I also teach them direct communication. Like, our tournament that we're hosting in October, I said, these are the dates of the tournament. You are required to be there, either competing or assisting. If you cannot, for any reason, the second that you know, you come tell me. I know some of your parents like to decide to go camping 7 days, like with 7 days notice, so that's fine. If something happens, even a week in advance, I'm not gonna lie, like freak out, be like, you're lying, you're making it up, blah, 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 you're trying to get out of it. If you effectively communicate with me in advance and say, hey, I found out about this thing, I'm not gonna be able to be there, I respect that a lot more than you texting me the night before being like, please don't fail me, please don't knock my grade. I don't care. Just tell me what's going on, right? But also at the same time, if it's an emergency on your part, handle it, take care of it. But at the same time, my situation is not gonna bend and be flexible and change all the time to every person's different wind, so to speak, right? Also tell them how much certain things cost and how it pertains to your team's budget. My kids had this really big ego thinking they were really baller last year, and they're like, we can go out of state, we can do this, we can do that, we have enough money. We fundraised so much money last year. I'm like, do you know how much money it costs for a bus and for gas and for judges? Do you notice that like 80% of your parents don't help out? How do you guys think we're fulfilling our judging commitment? I'm just shelling out money to pay for judges. I'm Facebook posting, I'm harassing friends, I'm doing everything I can, right? And that's one of the things like I told them this year. I was like, wanna know exactly how much we spent on judging? This much. Wanna know exactly how much we spent on gas? This much. Because when they say, oh yeah, we fundraised $5,000 a snack race, that's awesome, and I want you to celebrate that, I want you to know that. But when you come to me and you say, hey, we wanna go to nationals, but you're not acting like you really care for nationals, you just wanna go to nationals because it's a trip, I'm gonna pull up the budget that also says 2 years ago when you guys went to ASU in January, that was $8,000 before food and all that. That was just the insurance, the flights, and the hotel. $8 grand. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's our entire budget right now. That's everything we have in the account right now. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, that's literally how much it costs. That's not counting us doing food, going to a fun place, going to a water park, any of that. But I was very honest and transparent with them, and that kind of put it in perspective where I was like, if you guys want to do that, we won't make it happen. It's not above us to make it happen. But realistically speaking, this is where we're at. Also too, like when they ask for food and they want Chick-fil-A every single tournament, and I'm like, no, because Chick-fil-A is so expensive. Never mind like the moral side of it or whatever. Susan over at West, she's like, you got your kids Chick-fil-A again? And I'm like, look, they need to eat. I feel like a mom with a 3-year-old, but like 37 of them, because I need them to eat, otherwise they're cranky and they yell at me and I don't like it. But for some reason, they really like those grilled nuggets, and it's like $60 for 60 nuggets. It's annoying. It's like so much money. Sorry, random rants that I just like, it drives me crazy. But I'd rather tell them that. Like, hey, it costs a lot of money to feed you guys. Can you ask one of your moms to do it? And it might sound ridiculous, but like I'm getting used to the fact that they're like upper income-ish, not like super upper income, you know what I mean? So I understand for you guys that might be different. That's exactly why you should tell them. We're a small school with small money. Our school gives us no money. The only money we have comes from fundraising. The only money we have comes from your debate fees. When they're like, why I need to pay my debate fee, but I can't, it's $100, that's too much. I'm sorry, friend, if I don't have enough of that debate fee, we don't have money to go to tournaments. We don't have money for buses, we don't have money for whatever. So when they ask you why those fees exist, Why do I have to pay $50 for my jacket if I want a nice jacket? I'm not gonna lie to you. These were over $100. We paid half of it, we made the kids pay half. And some of them did not get one because they're like, I don't care, I'm graduating, I don't want one, I'm not gonna wear it, I have no reason to have one. Don't care. Okay, cool, I'm not offended. It's not required, you know what I mean? Some people are gonna have different reasons for why they care for things, but also at the same time we ask them, we're like, hey, if it's too much, we can do something simpler. We can get t-shirts. We got hooded sweatshirts the year before. Just literal like blue hoodies that just screen printed have Bingham Debate on the front, you know? So ask them too, like, are they willing to compromise? And also I think this is part of like that growing up conversation. They start to understand what things value and they like respect it more. They don't take it for granted. They understand why you don't have new debate laptops or why you don't have iPads or why you don't have whatever. And really I tell them like, it's not your fault. And it's not that admin doesn't care about you. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means we're a small program and we've got to work. We've got to figure out things and get creative instead of fighting against the system. Last thing, their behavior and participation, lack thereof, affects and represents the whole team. Kind of goes back to the model a little bit. Like if you're saying the model and you're doing the model, you're like, but I come to class, and you're acting a fool outside of class. That bothers me. I had somebody that last year was like, I really want to go to NAC balls. I straight up told him, I do not trust you. And he's like, what do you mean you don't trust me? I'm like, I'm not taking you to Beaver. I don't trust you. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I know, you're the one that I worry about gets out and gets in trouble for doing certain things. Insert blank here. Like, it literally doesn't matter. I don't trust you. And he's like, what, seriously? But like, I work hard, I do policy. And I was like, I don't care that you do policy. That means nothing to me. But like, being very honest with them, of being like, it's not about if you're winning. It's not about that. I want to know that I can trust you and you're not going to get me fired. I make jokes with them. I'm like, I don't want to end up on TikTok. I'm on TikTok by choice, not against my will. Like, I make content because I think it's funny. I don't want to be the content. I mean, like, unless it's my choice, you know. So I always tell them, like, don't do anything that's gonna be in trouble. Do you guys like me being around? Don't do anything like that. And I'm just very real with them about that. So I feel like also telling them that kind of thing. I've told them before too, if I don't know anything or if I mess up or if I do mess up anything too. This is the one that I don't totally love. Again, everyone's driven by something. It's the carrot or the stick. Last year, my team was very much driven by the stick. I didn't like that. I don't like having to do that. You know, it's very hard because like you want to give them fun things to do, but sometimes you got to set the boundary. It's hard. I hate boundary setting. I'm a recovering people pleaser. It's very difficult for me to upset people and disappoint them or make them not like me. It makes me feel very bad. One time, there was this incident between me and Trevor, and he literally was mad at me for like a month, albeit it was totally warranted, but I literally for days, I felt like the worst person ever. And I was like, please stop being mad at me, Trevor. Can we be friends again? Because I just don't like it. It makes me sick to my stomach to have people upset with me. But at the same time, sometimes we gotta do it, right? So these are some of the sticks that I had to use last year, and these are things that are now part of our disclosure, and we also have a team behavior contract. That's literally how bad it was last year. All of our kids this year understand the reason why, and they're totally on board with it, but setting those boundaries, I guess. And I think some of that sometimes comes with the transition of coaching. So I will add, as a little like asterisk here, acknowledge that like most of these things are with the transition. So if you're a new coach, if you're in that first like 1 to 2 years like I am, there is an awkwardness of like, but they did it this way, and this is how we did it last year. And usually after state, we just mess around for the last 2 months of the year. And they have all these things that they constantly try to fight you on. I hate to say it, but you just got to accept it. Like, they're going to try to fight you on it. Obviously, working on like your communication, getting to know them, all of these other things might help with bridging that gap, so it's not as much of an awkward transition. But sometimes they will try to take advantage of you being new, of you not knowing, or you being nice. In my case, I want to make sure everybody liked me. I want to make sure it was a fun season. I didn't want to have a bunch of people dropping and leaving the team, so I tried to make everyone as happy as I could. And yeah, that just doesn't always work, because then again, you're bending yourself to the will of the team instead of the team conforming to you. And as much as I don't like conforming and that kind of a thing, right? Like, you are still the leader, you are still the face of the team, and anything that goes wrong is going to come down on you, right? With admin or with parents. So ultimately, it is of your priority to cover your butt and not worry about hurting their feelings. So with that being said, one of the things that we have is we send an email home to mommy and daddy with the admin. So like, literally, if it's a swearing problem, if it's a showing up late to class all the time problem, if it's a never coming to practice problem, if it's a, you went to 7-Eleven during the tournament, you just left the school premises, and I found out, like, oh, I wanted to freak out. And my kid looked at me and he was like, but I made it back and I wasn't late to my round or anything. And I was like, what if you got hit by a car? Like, I was just like standing there, like having a freak out. I was like, what if you got kidnapped? What if you got Ted Bundy? Is actually like literally what I said. And he was like, what? I was like, you know what I mean. Don't get me in trouble. Don't do stupid things, but otherwise I'll tell your mommy and your daddy. And I don't want to have to tattle on you, but like, I have to sometimes. I'd rather tattle on you than lose my job. I've asked kids to leave practice before. Again, if they're being distracting, if they're not working, if they're staying on task, if they're being an issue for other people, hey, I love you, can you leave and come back another day when you're more focused? That's one thing I do a lot. I tell my kids I love them. I don't want them to ever think I'm really mad at them. If I'm mad at them, they'll know. I'm disappointed in you. I don't like that one. My mom always used it on me. Ooh, it like twists the knife just perfectly enough. You know? I'm disappointed that you didn't come to practice prepared today. We'll do your practice run on Thursday. See you then. But I can pull it up. But I just need 20 minutes to finish this content. No. I'm here for an hour and a half. That's enough time to do a practice run and have feedback. I'm not here for you to finish your case, dilly-dally for 20 minutes, then do the practice round. Then I cancel practice rounds too. Like if the teams are sitting there and it's taking 20 minutes to get the practice round started, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, come on guys. I don't teach preschool. You're 16, you're 15. Come with intention. Come with attention too, be focused, you know? Like it's not my job to baby you, to do the thing that you say you wanna do. It's an extracurricular activity, you're here out of choice. You're taking the class out of choice, it's an elective. I should not have to tell you what to do all the time. You know what to do, especially varsity. That's my biggest thing. Lots of privilege to attend upcoming team socials, team banquet, not planning or canceling, like if it's a whole team thing, like we had a day, we had a substitute, my team was like, they were all just a bunch of jerks to the substitute. I don't know why, everybody had a rough day, even kids that normally don't have a rough day ever had a rough day. It was just a weird day. And we were planning to do a big team social, and I was like, guys, I don't really feel like doing that right now. I'm kind of embarrassed. Like I straight up was like, I got an email from the VP because this stuff was so upset. No thanks, I don't feel like doing anything. But straight up telling them that. You guys can fix that though, give it a month, you know what I mean? Act a little bit better, show that you care, be consistent, maybe we'll do something to reward that. But last year was very much like, they kept expecting the rewards even though the behavior wasn't there. Lots of team leadership privileges, so obviously if you have a team leader, it's obviously being the drama, being the issue, causing the issues, that was kind of my situation last year. You know, we rescind those privileges, you know, you are no longer speech captain, you are no longer whatever, because you cannot be trusted. And we don't make it a big team thing, like, hey, so-and-so is no longer speech captain, like, we just don't talk about it, but that person just no longer comes to the lab meetings, no longer has whatever. So on our jackets, we didn't have anything embroidered on purpose, just because of that reason. Like, we're just preventing, just in case, because you never know. And then also requests to be removed from class. At the semester mark, we had 2 kids removed from class. At the end of the year, in 4th quarter, we had 2 people drop. It's fine. I had 3 out of a group of 4 try to come back this year. One of them, the one that didn't come back, is one kid that we did not invite back. He tried to come back into the class. We asked the counseling center to remove him. They did. He messaged us and says, can I please come back to the class? And we said, no, I'm sorry. Your behavior last year was just, it's too much. Had anger outbursts, would swear in class, would never work, didn't come to tournaments, and then straight up complaining was like, oh, I don't get enough opportunity, and you're gonna pick that PF team over us for region anyway, so why should we even stay in this class? And I was like, well, that team has cases, and that team works, and that team shows up, but I'm more than happy to do a practice round between the 2 of you, you know, can duke it out, you can figure it out. And they go, well, when's region? And I tell them the date, and the kid goes, well, that's my birthday, so I won't be here. I'm like, so if you're not even gonna come to region, why do you care that they're getting the spot for region? Like, why do you even? So it made no sense to me that this kid wanted to take debate too. I was like, no thanks. You literally chose your birthday over region, which I get it, it's your birthday, nothing against that. But like, you literally told me you don't care. Why would I bring you back? That's just gonna be more of a pain in my butt, right? So it's hard sometimes to hold that boundary because even like his mom emailed and was like, what can we do? And I was like, I'm sorry. If this is how he has to learn the lesson of like, this is how you don't treat other people and act in the community, I'm sorry, this is how he learns the lesson. Sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean? Hopefully you have your admin back on that. Hopefully you have a paper trail. Obviously us having a paper trail kind of helped with that a little bit and everything. So if you have that happening throughout the year, start documenting it. Like literally start a Google Doc that's like this day, because that's honestly what we did. We were like May 9th, this happened. May 10th, this happened. Every time they came to class. And like just to kind of cover our butt because it was one of those really hard things where every day it was just a little bit of behavior, a little bit of this, and then he'd have a day where it was really good. And he would focus and get a lot of stuff done, and then other days that he don't. But if you're thinking about overall the team culture and that kind of stuff, like some people, I'm sorry, like I don't like having to say that, but having just gone through that, may not need to be on the team. Don't be afraid to talk to admin about making sure they're removed. Now on the more happier side of things, this is what we're trying to do this year. Movie days, pizza days, after tournaments. So like if we get first, this is kind of one of our big goals, if we get first in sweeps, never even open, like let's get top 3. And then once we hit the goal of top 3, then the new goal is let's get first, right? So if we get top 3, we're not doing anything in class on Monday. Watching movies, doing pizza, whatever. I don't care. Give them a play day. Because obviously they worked really hard cohesively all as a team, right? It's a big team reward, it's very chill. And honestly, if they already have cases done, they already have speeches done, and you place in sweeps, you could probably afford the day of not doing anything in class, right? If you have after school practices, work then, right? But like sacrifice the class time, you're probably fine. Planning the big team socials, so that's like, when I say big stuff, I mean like going out and spending like a decent amount of money. So again, if you're gonna do like an escape room, a haunted house, a corn maze, anything where you're like taking and meeting and like sending out checks, that kind of stuff in advance. If the team's wanting to get together to do something, then that's on them, of course. No workday passes. So this is something I'm gonna have printed out as well. Every kid is going to get 2 passes per quarter. Essentially, they can come into me and it's like, I'm having a mental health day. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you today. I'm gonna go sit in the corner and work on my case with my AirPods in. That's fine. You can still get participation for the day, because I understand we all have days we don't want to work. We're tired, we didn't sleep well, we don't feel good, and mom still says you have to go to school. I still have to be here. Please don't make me do anything. Please don't call on me. Don't want to work with people today. Whatever it is, right? I don't care what the excuses, but you only get 2 of them per quarter, right? Because again, I don't want anyone establishing a pattern, this, that, and the other. But again, my kids also know, like, if you use these and you're struggling, please come tell me so I can help you. And then game days, I really like that Daryl talked about that. I was like, that gives me so many ideas. And then also professional email, thanking them for their hard work and positive attitude. This would also be something on the flip side of this, like sent to them with mommy and daddy and the admin, just being like, hey, I noticed that you come to class or come to practice all 3 days this week, and you've helped this person with this speech and this person with this speech, and it's just been really awesome. Keep it up. That kind of thing, right? Again, this kind of goes back to the love language bit. If you know your kid is motivated by words of affirmation or whatever that is, you know what I mean? It can also be a way where like parents know that you're recognizing their kid too. And especially like you never know, like kids might keep certain emails, you know what I mean? Or the Slack message or whatever. It's like, my coach said I did that. I needed that on a hard day. You know what I mean? They can have that to go back to as well. And it's not so much like, it's good to do it in class. I'm not saying not do it in class, you know what I mean? But this is something they can always refer back to if they're having a bad day. I mean, like, no one believes in me or I'm struggling or whatever, they can at least go back to that. So, does anybody have any questions so far? I know I'm just kind of like pummeling through stuff, so hope I'm being clear on this. Let me check my time. Make sure I don't run out of time. Okay, I got like 2 minutes left and I'm only on like 5. I'm gonna make this really fast. Know your parents. This is very simple. Have a parent meeting. Make sure you talk to them. Go over the events. Go over what tournaments are like. I would say make this meeting, and I know you're gonna probably think I'm crazy, an hour to an hour and a half. Do not rush through this. I made the mistake of rushing through it and trying to get my parents in and out in 45 minutes, wanting to be respectful of their time. All valid reasons. All good things. They came to the first tournament. They were like, I'm so confused. What am I doing? What is this event? What do you mean? I remember the disclosure. I think my kid's doing oratory or something. I don't really know. Take the time to go over with them. Record the Zoom. Tell them that you'll email it out. So if they can only be there for a certain amount of time, or if only one parent can attend, whatever. Like, you'll get the information, and then if they ever sign up to judge, be like, please go listen to the Zoom, or watch the Zoom, or whatever. But then you have it recorded, and then you can just send it out to people as you need it, okay? Ask what they do for a living. You have potential guest speakers on your hands, definitely qualified judges. So if you find out any of your kids' parents are lawyers, or work in the government, or whatnot, like there's a kid at West where their mom is the mayor, Mayor Mendenhall. I have a kid on my team, her dad is a federal judge magistrate, but then I also have another one where her dad's just like a local city judge, I think, for West Jordan, you know, or he's a lawyer, excuse me. So I've had them come in as guest speakers to talk about knowing your case, flowing, questions, all kinds of stuff. Teen moms are great. So if you have stay-at-home moms that are like, hey, I don't really do much. My mom that supplied a lot of the food last year, she was like, hey, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I work a lot, and I'm not usually available, but I have the money, I can buy the food. So normally she was the one that was like, hey, I sent food, it's gonna be there. And I just didn't worry about it. She was fine with it. That's what she wanted to do, right? You might have moms and people on your team that are willing to help and can do certain things. One parent's phone number per child, that just helps if you're missing a kid in the morning. And then having a parents channel in your team communication app, or emailing out like what's going on with the team. Tell them what judges you need. Like, tell them, we need a speech judge for this tournament, or we need somebody to, you know, have food or whatever. Fundraising and growing your budget. We all are going to be struggling this year, probably with transportation costs and with buses and stuff like that. So let's just plan ahead. I just figured, like, telling everybody, like, don't fight the system. It's not you, it's not your school, it's not anything. We're all struggling with it. So all of our situations are different. So I recommend using SnapRaise and getting it set up soon. You can have people come into your classroom, they explain the whole system, they get all your kids signed up with their school email, they tell them how to promote it, how to fundraise it, how to get it out to people. It literally is a whole class period where you just sit back, they figure it out. And then you get SnapRaise going, and that's literally, I didn't have to even harass our kids to get to 5K. Like, they just knew how it worked, they went out, they talked to their family members, shared the email, and they made it happen. You know what I mean? It makes it really easy for them. Also, if they hit certain fundraising goals, the kids get like swag. So like some of our kids got like Bingham Debate duffel bags, or like a Bingham Debate water bottle, or t-shirts, or whatever, a part of SnapRaise for doing that. So instead of worrying your kids won't do it for whatever reason, have faith that they will. Again, like, they'll get resourceful, especially if you can build a vision of what's possible for them, whether that's team swag, bigger, you know, events, devices, that's a big thing. Like, literally, if the team is like, we want better laptops, okay, great, that costs $4,000. You guys want to fundraise to do it? How you wanna do it? Let's be problem solvers, not just sit and whine about like where we're at, right? Parents can donate directly to the team through the school if desired, so share the goal with your parents. Obviously they can go through Snap Race, or if they just wanna write a check to the school. As far as I understand, they literally can just be like, this is for debate, and my admin will process it. So check with your finance person if that's a little bit different. Host a tournament. It is stressful, but people will help you a ton. I think Lane can also attest to this as well. Like, other coaches will help you. There are people that'll be like, give me PF, I got it, it's done. Give me policy,
I
it's
would
done.
suggest that when you host a tournament, assign events for each coach to be over and build, and don't worry about running.
And literally don't worry about it.
Your job should be managing the tournament, not running the tournament.
Exactly. That was my biggest thing also last year with hosting Concord Classic. I was like, guys, how am I supposed to do this? I have literally no idea. And then I got COVID literally the week of, and I was supposed to host this big in-person tournament, and I looked online, and with judges, coaches, and competitors, it was literally 400 people. And I'm sitting there like, I'm not about to host a super spreader. No, thanks. Not about to happen. So I had to flip it all to online, figure that all out in a week. And all I did is I literally messaged all the coaches that were supposed to help with the events. And I was like, can you make them online? Because I'm overwhelmed with just communicating this, sending the emails, telling my judges, all of that other stuff. And they went in and they just did it themselves, because you can give them access. This is also a great way to utilize your lab and get novices credit for their grade, because they can obviously observe, they can assist, they can be room runners, they can help with the judges' room and food, they can whatever you want to have them do, right? I'm hosting Concord Classic in October this year on purpose. For what it looks like, it's going to be the first in-person tournament for everybody this season, and I'm making my varsity can compete if they want to, because they're varsity. If they want to, they can. If they're ready, cool. My novices are probably not going to be ready though, so I'm making them observe. It's the second tournament of the season. They're still learning events. It's a perfect reason for me to like, great, go take some notes. Once they come back to me with notes, they get their credit. They can go home for the weekend, right? But at least they're there. I can run the tournament, and also it gets it out of the way. Just done. I don't have to worry about it. But again, I also have all of these little bodies around that I can be like, go do this, go do that, go do this, go do that. And then they learn how tournaments work. They learn to have respect for tournament directors and judges. The one thing I told my kids is like, I don't want to ever hear you complaining about how a tournament's being run. It is so hard. You have no idea how many things are happening and what fires could be going on. Saturday morning of region, none of my rounds would post for some reason. I have no idea, even though everything says it was live and said it was posted, it wasn't there. So I literally called Mike and I was like, please help, I don't know who else can fix this, right? So like, just telling them that. So collaborating with other schools too on Rise for tournaments. This one just means me and Copper Hills last year, we shared buses when it was available. So like if we were going to the same tournament, they would pay for the bus there. And basically what we would do is we'd set up the bus request to say, hey, you're gonna pick up at Copper Hills at 2:15, we're gonna go to Bingham, pick them up at 2:30, and then we're going here. We'll be here by 3. And then on the way home, for like on Saturday night, then I would put in the bus request of, hey, you're gonna pick us up at Skyridge, and then we're gonna drop off here and then drop off here, right? And then you're only paying for half the cost. That's what this also can help, right? And this also coordinates you with other coaches and teams. And it also builds like the team, it's a fuller buzz, it's fun. You know, they get more hype if we're going into tournaments. When in doubt, ask for help. We all wanna see you succeed. Not to go too much over time, set graduation goals with your team. Let them know that these things exist. Again, this will also motivate them, kind of more carrot stuff, but also like keeps them on track, especially with eligibility. If you have a big thing with that, like if you have a kid, I have a senior last year who's like, I really want my honor cords, but we'd have to do like weekly eligibility checks because the poor kid, I swear, he just did not like going to shop class. I don't know what it was. I was like, why'd you take shop if you never want to go? I don't understand. And then I learned way late in the season, about academic All-American, academic All-State, Sterling Scholar. Debate kids can get into this, debate scholarships. Lassen's daughter Lorelei went to University of Wyoming, or is going to University of Wyoming right now, on like a 80% ride, I think. I want to say it's like almost a full ride, maybe not. I don't want to overspeak, but she's there on their debate team, and it's all paid for from how well she did at debate at Copper Hills. And then also recommendation into coaching for yours or another school's team, because we always need people. I know Davis had a couple of their seniors go right into assistant coaching, and they were not only helping their team with practices and stuff, but they were also judging at tournaments. So if you have a senior who naturally kind of transitions and still wants to be around, you can have them be your assistant coach and help you in the classroom, and also be like, hey, will you cover judging at this tournament? Because it's still valuable, right? And they probably want to anyway, because they like judging and being on that side of things now too. Again, being fast, trying to wrap these up, whoop. Become best friends with your admin team. Get to know who your person is that does all your bus requests, suburban requests, finance stuff. Don't be afraid of asking them dumb questions. Like literally any question. The amount of times I've gone to Jane and be like, did I submit this to you already, or do I need to do it again? Or did I do this wrong? Or I forgot the receipt or something. Like she knows I'm a Hot Mess Express, and that's fine. I bring her Snickers bars, it works out. So get to know them, obviously get to know your VP and your principal. Do all that you can to involve them. A lot of people struggle with admin treating them as an equal part of everything else with the school, and being like, well, you're not basketball, or well, you're not drill, or whatever, right? So if you run into that, again, like if necessary, like, hey, we're part of the UHSAA, it's supposed to be equal, we're on the same board, like we have all the same things. We're not just a club that just got thrown together, right? So if you have like credible things that need to be chased down with admin, like overnight requests or buses or whatever, and it's not happening, like you're just as important as the other guys. And so don't let them like make you feel just because this one admin thinks that debate isn't relevant or isn't necessary or it's just extra, it's a waste of money or whatever. I've heard some ridiculous things. Like, make sure you're inviting them, talk to them about stuff. Like, they can't be involved about the program if you don't know. If you tell them and they choose not to show up, that's on them. And I tell my kids this all the time because they're like, admin doesn't like us as much as football. And I say, you know what? That's not on me. My door's open. They got the invitation, they were invited, they could have come to region, they could have come to Copper Class, they could have come to whatever. I won't be told that they weren't invited, right? So put your best foot forward as much as you can. Decide what kind of coach you want to be. So I get it, if you're new, don't even know how to answer this, you're like, I'm just doing what's asked of me, because whatever. You have the ability to leave a lasting impression on your team. Again, the reason I'm into this is because of my last coach, Carol Shackelford over at Bingham. It's so weird to me because my very first round I ever won, Trevor and everyone on my team was like, it's Bingham, you're gonna lose. I won my first round, I went to tag room, I was like, coach, I won, I'm so excited. I beat Bingham, ah! She goes, great, here's Carol Shackelford, that's Bingham's coach. Hi. And I was like, oh! 10 years later, I come back and I'm like, hi, I'm gonna coach your team now. She's like, it's not my team. And I'm like, but like, in my mind, it's still your team. So I always say that you can leave a lasting impression. So like, if you wanna be a mentor to them, if you wanna leave that legacy with them, like, you absolutely can. These are things that I talk about with my team besides just speech and debate stuff. So we have lessons where we will specifically talk about like, what does leadership look like? What is empathy for other people? What is self-discipline? What is ego versus confidence? I harass them about mindset. I am so annoying about mindset. Like, I do not do self-talk. I do not do bashing on yourself. I don't do self-deprecating humor. I don't do any of that. Like, in fun, outside the classroom, sure, but I really believe that training them to see themselves as competitors is a big deal. Overcoming challenges, consistency, self-belief, teamwork, boundary setting, again, even brain science. I have a girl that tells me, she's like, if I drink a Bang energy drink, I memorize my speech better. Stanford disagrees with you. Sorry about that. So I have literally sent them videos before, made them watch or listen to certain podcasts or something, little things where I'm just like, I want you to understand how your body works on a physiological level and why when you're in round, you can't remember that thing. You're dehydrated. Go drink some water. Sounds really basic, sounds really simple, but for some reason he's saying, like, I'm not just yelling at you like your mom. I mean, like, literally, here's a study, here's a school, like, there's reasons I'm telling you to do this. I don't know why. It seems to help. So, and then the last thing is 1 day, 1 week, 1 month at a time. This is my last little, where you'll really get to know me a bit. I want to motivate you with this part, because I know I've just thrown a lot of information at you, and I went over on my time a little bit, so I apologize about that. But the biggest thing I want you to know about from all this when it comes to building a team is the season will be over before you know it. It'll fly by, even if you're like grunting your way through it. Like, I think the weeks from like when I had COVID, like that second week of January to the second week of March with state was like, I literally told people, I was like, this is a 12-week gauntlet and I am dying. Like, it's a marathon and I'm going to be so burnt out when I'm through it, and I was, but I don't want you to be. So understanding that like, it's gonna go by. It's gonna happen, you'll get through it, give yourself some grace. But also, like, being asked to be a coach is like being asked to eat an elephant. You're gonna need help, but it is 1 day at a time. You can only do it one piece at a time. And even as you go through certain phases, you're gonna have to learn how to adapt and deal with this situation this way and this situation that way. So remember that you're one human. You literally can only do so much. There's nothing wrong with you if you cannot give 100% of yourself 100% of the time. It does not make you a bad coach. It does not make you a bad leader. Do not let your kids make you feel that way. They will tell you, because you didn't show up for me this day, blah, 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 blah. No. They can feel that way. Their emotions are valid. It does not make you a bad person. I know we always say, I'm sure with teachers you get told a lot too, like, don't take your work home and don't personalize too much and all that. But especially with this, where you spend so much time with these humans, don't let them put you on this fake pedestal. They're like, you know exactly what you're doing all the time and no one ever messes up and it's just you. You're the only one floundering or whatever, because you're not. You're not. So again, that's why I really say that's a fake pedestal, but also you can't pour from an empty cup. So please get your sleep. Please go hike. Please have family time. Please go watch movies or whatever it is that you want to do. I think that's the hardest part when all of us coaches are together on the weekends and we talk to each other and it's like, what have you done for yourself? Oh, I'm doing this, I got this grade, this class, this, that, and the other. I know that's gonna be difficult, but whatever you can do when you're not coaching and you're not whatever, like, take care of yourself. It'll come out in how you act with them. And then this last part, I have to be honest, is a little bit personal to how I watched the Copper Hills coach interact with our team last year. She's not like coaching any longer, and it's really pretty unfortunate because I feel like she could have been really good. but she struggled a lot personally. So don't take the team personally, and please work on yourself as well, whether it's personal growth, whether it's working on your emotional adaptability or intelligence, whether that's working on time management, discipline, whatever that is. Like, acknowledge that you also have skills to work on, and like I said, don't be afraid to tell the team, like, hey, this is one of my pitfalls, this is one of my strengths that needs to be developed. But like, if you act like you don't have those things, and then act like they don't need to be worked on, that can kind of create a negative energy. And that's what I kind of saw transfer over last year. And then the team, there's this dichotomy of you're asking us to do all these things that you don't do. You're not a positive person, you're not hardworking, you're not doing these things, right? So I don't mean that to put more pressure on anybody by any means, but also like just kind of be aware of like how you personally are doing will impact the team more than anything else. So if you're an unhappy person, if you're a disorganized person, if you don't want to be there, if you're miserable being there and you don't want to be there, so will they be. Like, it will transfer over 100%. So do what you can to make yourself happy and make this fun for you as well. And that's all I can.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, you can totally ask. I know we got over. I'll be here afterwards, of course, too. If anybody needs anything, please let me know, because I just want to help people. I want to see coaches feel more confident in themselves, so we have less of a turnover rate of like that 3 to 7 years. So